Hello, everyone. Good day. Welcome to our monthly fireside chats hosted by Digital Square. If you're new to Digital Square, we work with innovators, governments, donors to support country digital health programs. And one of the ways in which we do that is supporting our global goods partners to work on interoperability and support webinars like this. Our session is led by our interoperability expert, Jose. He works on data management standards and interoperability, has supported this work for, and I'm not going to age you, for many, many decades. So over to you, Jose.
Thank you. Yeah, so let's talk about FHIR. These are open discussions on whatever comes to mind of anyone. If someone has any specific topics, these are good discussions to have. Any discussions, and then we just go with the topics that we have. I don't have any particularly fresh information or any cool things that I would like to share up front. So let's see what if anyone has any preferred topics to talk about, or any current pains or anything that you would like to discuss. Shinji, do you have any specific areas of FHIR that you would want to cover, or Claude as well?
Yes, I've been engaged in Japanese profile of medication-related resources, such medication requests, medication dispense, medication administration, and medication itself, and now immunization for vaccination program of nationally and international.
Okay, how's it going with the medication? Because are you covering the prescription workflows?
Yes.
Okay.
Prescriptions, yes. So e-prescription, but Japanese prescription rule and customs are so customized for paperwork. It's rather hard and very complex.
What's the complicated side? Is it the content or the workflows? Because normally the workflows, they depends a lot on where you are, but the workflows can become very complicated. You know, an order or changing of an order or something like this. Do you go through that, or that becomes easy for you? How do you feel that?
Yeah, workflows. So workflows are very different from Western manners and the European, Eastern and Japanese manners. And description for prescription is a little different. Traditionally, Japanese prescription rule describes 1 day dose and how to take the medication. So, for example, loxaprofen 60 milligram, 3 tablets per 1 day, and divided 3 in each time. So, but in general, FHIR rules are 1 tablet takes 3 times.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
So you have
maybe some so we 10 years ago, Japanese government recommended to each time Western style 1 tablet 3 multiply 3, but it causes disasters. So
okay.
doctors write 3 tablets
Yeah, and divide by
Mostly,
yeah.
9 tablets per day.
Okay.
Okay.
This is interesting. So I personally find it interesting because that's exactly the first challenge that I had when I started working in health IT. There's many years, too many years ago. That I also had the exact same problem. So we had the daily dosage, and we say, okay, this is the schedule, and we had to divide it. But for a computer to assign this was because this is a medical thing. It's not a computer that should do it. Yeah, and then the normal way of working is that you take one tablet and you multiply by 3 times a day. That's okay. I have felt that experience. Are you engaging with the HL7 chat, with the FHIR chat? Are you bringing this to the FHIR chat? Because that seems an interesting use case to bring to the FHIR chat discussions.
Okay.
So
Thank you.
let me ask, do you have? Let me see. I'll see if you are on the FHIR chat, because the pharmacy group is always looking for. Yeah, and I see you there. So it will be nice to. I'll ping you on the chat. I will mention you on the chat and see if that comes up with some discussion, or if there's any recommendations by someone how to solve those problems. That's interesting, but okay. Before we continue there, Claude, do you have any what are your pain points, or what are the things that you would like to discuss or have magically fixed, if possible?
I think my pain points are just lack of FHIR knowledge, not being FHIR proficient. At the moment, there's a lot of chatter about. I really bad at remembering terminology. Computable. I'm not sure if it's computable clinical guidelines, if I'm not mistaken. And CQL, clinical query language. There's a lot of chatter about that. For example, at the HS2, we're saying, how could we support CQL? How would we even? And probably we won't even be able to support such a thing, because from my understanding, from my very limited understanding, the models and the HS2 model is very different from the CQL model, and to be able to support it would mean an entirely new DHS2, DHS3, I guess. That's at least my understanding. So actually, that's I wouldn't say a pain point, but I would like to learn more about this stuff.
Okay, so I don't know enough about DHIS or about CQL to make a solid bridge between those, or to make any bridge. But I have been following some discussions on CQL and how we can make CQL, or how do we document the implementation, including the CQL part. So yeah, CQL is just a language that expresses the data query and the data processing that you want to express. If the HIS2 has a different model from FHIR, yeah, that will of course cause an issue. Let me just share some thoughts, and then we see if that has any relevance. When we make FHIR specifications, I personally, and you can see from the webinars that we had, I personally recommend to always capture a logical data model of what we mean. So not a FHIR dependent, but a more abstract model of what data we want. Because then if something changes on FHIR, or if there is any technical discussions on extensions or whatever, that's a technical thing. We don't have to care about that. What we care about is what the data means for us and for our clinical users, etc. So starting with that, if we can express our behavior or our intended behavior, whether it's an interface or a query, in that language, in the functional language, so not in the FHIR technical things, but in the more abstract thing, then we have our functional problem pretty much addressed. Then the rest is just a technical implementation. Just because I made the air quotes, because it can be extremely complicated, but there is no guesswork anymore. I mean, there should not be any guesswork. Then once things are defined functionally, then we should have less pain in the technical side, or the technical side should not be driving any functional discussion, should be subordinate to that. So I don't know if you're documenting your specifications as logical models, but if you have the HIS, maybe one thing that could help is to make, okay, the HIS has a lot of data for this purpose, you know, and the purpose can be calculating a vaccination schedule for a child or doing whatever. For this thing, what we need to do is, what we need to get is this data. And if you consolidate that as an abstract data model that you can map both to the HIS and to FHIR, then I think it might help you. Actually, we are doing some work and some discussions to see if we can support this even further, which is once we have the model, then we make the queries on the model level, and then the technical translation of that should be pretty much computable or derived by a computer. I don't know how far that can go. But if you have the model, then you can actually do the things like mappings and the queries. You could be able to do these things on a functional level to at least advance the technical level. But yeah, in any case, if you have two different models, then you have to reconcile them. And yeah, so FHIR proficiency, it's a path. It's something that you have to go through. I am going through that as well. But the not only the FHIR specification, but the FHIR ecosystem, like logical models, like CQL, those are things that grow around FHIR. And if you have a method, like, for example, if you have to map from A to B, my advice is don't map from A to B, map from A to what A means in your language, and then map from B to what B means in your language, and then hopefully that's going to be the same thing. Do that mapping, because then if you, instead of A and B, if you have C, then you can make it, you can make it more easily. And most importantly, because the common model is something that you can agree with stakeholders, clinicians, administrative staff, management. So yeah, the rest is, well, I feel your pain. I'm going through the same thing, sometimes more behind, sometimes more advanced, but it's a learning curve, it's a learning path. Have you seen our webinars, Claude?
Does the one from yesterday count as a webinar?
No. It's the Digital Square webinars. I don't know if Randa or Maria, if you could kindly put the link in the chat. We have a bunch of FHIR webinars.
Yeah.
It's not a FHIR training, but okay.
I've just requested access. Yeah, all right.
Okay, it's a bunch of questionnaire of questions. It's a bunch of webinars where it's not a FHIR training, but we try to give you some path of saying, well, this is the basics of FHIR. And there's lots of talking, especially because it's me, but there's lots of information there. And it's superficial, but trying to connect all those dots. Then this is, profiling of FHIR. That's step 2. I think it's, then we went to terminologies and some more stuff, just to give you, the basic reference points of FHIR. Like if you want to do terminologies, this is what the basic that you should be aware of. If you want to do FHIR profiling, there's another thing. If you want to do a FHIR implementation guide, then you have another thing. Question, Claude, are you doing implementation guides? You are the team
doing implementation guides.
If you are, the answer should be yes. If you hesitate, then the answer is no. I will share an implementation guide to see where.
Yeah, still a bit fuzzy with the terminology, but
okay.
So you might be doing them, and I have no idea.
Okay, so let me share what an implementation guide. Shinji,
are those like profiles? Are those like profiles, or is it totally has nothing to do with profiles?
Let me share. Let me put things in the right perspective. Shinji, do you do implementation guides? Do you make implementation guides?
Yes, I'm like writing the markdown and profile by Forge and Sushi.
Perfect. So let me see an implementation guide. This is an implementation guide. So a FHIR implementation guide is a bunch of technical publications that are published as a web page. Let's start with that. You can plot, it's like HTML, you can put lots of things there. What really matters is the profiles. So Claude, on the terminology and the concept there, you can have different types of artifacts. So profiles, actually, this is a silly example because it doesn't have a profile. Let me get another one. This one has a lot of profiles and a lot of them. It's the same topic, but it's a more advanced implementation guide. So it can have different types of things. Like this is a profile. So the profile, for example, for viral load. Viral load is a profile on observation where the code is this, and there's something there. Actually, maybe there's something missing there, but that's the profiling. So the profiling is you take one resource, and this is the whole thing, and this is the difference this profile is a profile on observation, and it differs from observation in that it has a slice. I don't want to go now through what is a slice. That's something that you can go in the webinars, or you can read up or check in chat.fhir.org. But yeah, so when you make a specification, you make resource profiles, you define extensions, you make value sets to say for example, what are the indications for viral load. Okay, then these are the codes that we have at this moment. So that's the code. And this is all consolidated as a value set. So value set is another type of artifact that we produce in FHIR. Code system is the parent of value set. Don't tell anyone that I said it like this. We have examples to show that to demonstrate that it works. We have questionnaires. That's another type of resources, and logical models. I don't think we have one here. Where do I have a logical model? I think we had one in our example food allergy webinar. We just gave this example in our webinars. We started with one example, which was this one. This is a very simple implementation guide that has one logical model. And just to share this, so logical model for food allergy. We define, let's say, functionally, we just made it up, but we say, well, if I want to capture food allergy, I need to have the patient, I need to have the substance, I need to have the status and the verification status, I need to have the date of recording, who recorded it, who actually told it, because it might be a different person, and if there is any history of reactions. That's it. That's our functional model. Then we have the profiles to implement this in FHIR. That's the step 2. Then we say, okay, this is the allergy intolerance resource, and it has these constraints. Okay, that's just profiling work, which I don't go through now. And then we have the value sets that are necessary. In this case, the allergies for the substances that we are that we want to capture the allergy to, and then an example and a questionnaire just to make it easier to capture the data. Just for you to see. And just FHIR allows us to express these things. Express things in a way that you can generate the UI automatically. And there are several tools of doing this. So this is just one of the web tools that can render the questionnaire. There's also an Android toolkit that allows you to make an Android app based on a questionnaire. And I don't know if it already supports CQL, but I think it's on the roadmap. So all of these things, they come together, and our job here is to say, this is how they work together, and we explore a bit those connections between those different parts of the ecosystem. So yeah, this is an implementation guide. The bunch of text and the descriptive text and the structured definitions of profiles or models and value sets, etc. So this is what we do. Claude, this is what you're up against.
So I would have to find commonality between this. I would have to find something in common with the DHS model against this and create a common model, yeah?
Yeah, that's one approach. I mean, depends. I would try to have not a master common model of everything, but for each type of data exchange that you have, because FHIR is about data exchange. So for each type of data exchange, for example, submitting a prescription, the idea is that, okay, what do I really need when submitting a prescription? Okay, I need the person that created the prescription, the date of the prescription, the medication, the posology, like what Shinji was just discussing, which you can discuss whether is it 3 grams per day divided by 3, or is it 1 gram plus 1 gram plus 1 gram? That's your model, your thing, and you define that, you consolidate that, and then you map this to both sides. That would be an approach, because then you start with a with a non-technological model, which I personally prefer a lot, because it makes communication and collaboration more simple. It avoids the technology is the the black hole that everyone has to understand about FHIR in order to discuss anything. I'm personally not in favor of that. I think that it's our job as technologists to make the technology more available to functional people than the other way around, than to demand them to understand technology. Yeah, and the logical model is one of the things that we can do there. But yeah,
cool. I'll take a look at it. Thanks.
And it's very easy to generate these things. So with the tools that we have, namely Sushi, it's rather easy to create an implementation guide. If you go through our webinars, you see that this one was actually created in a few minutes, 1 hour. I mean, 1 hour includes 40 minutes of me talking, and then 20 minutes of actually doing things and deploying it, and etc. It's really easy now. So check the webinars. If you're into making FHIR specifications, check the webinars, because they will add some. They will definitely add to your ease of getting familiar with it. Claude, are you on chat.fhir.org?
I did log in like last time when you mentioned it, but
But
frankly,
you got it,
I didn't really stay tuned.
Try
So,
to-
but
try
yeah,
to-
I should, yeah.
It does help. I mean, but it's not. I mean, for a guy like me, it helps. I mean, it's what I do when I'm in the doctor's office and I have to wait till I kill some time. Okay, then I go and through some chats. I don't expect that for most people. But if you have a specific topic, don't be afraid, just bring it up. And there's lots of people that have more advanced, less advanced questions, or things like, hey, I'm new to FHIR, where do I start? You'll have different opinions and different ways of choosing. You're based in which country, Claude?
Malta.
Norway.
Malta.
Malta, okay.
Uh,
Malta, I don't know if we have a Maltese community there.
I think the island, the population is too small to have even just one guy. It's already a lot.
Wonderful
Yeah.
place. Yeah, I don't know if you will have much luck in getting a Maltese community engaged there, and I do not know how far is Malta from the other locations. I know if you have any, if it's easier to see, if the model of healthcare is closer to Italy, to Greece, to, I don't know, sorry, my geography is bad, I don't know, France, I don't know what would be the closest functionally. But yeah, just try to see if you have peers there, if you have any, or just look at questions and look for prescription and see who's talking about prescription, and if there's anything that draws your attention. So that could be a good way of engaging.
Cool. I keep that in mind. Thanks.
And going back to the prescription, Shinji, we are also working with IHE, and IHE Pharmacy has started recently to create the profiles on medication. So medication prescription, dispensing, and administration is already there. So for FHIR, so maybe it would be interesting to listen to the Japanese use cases and expectations to see if we can help solve it also in the international scene, because maybe other countries will have the same challenges as you have in Japan, and it would be nice to see if we can provide some international guidance. I don't know if that's interesting to you to share some information with the IHE to see if we can help in the international profile. Does that make sense to you?
Okay, so IHE has been popular also in Japan, and so in Nagoya City, brain stroke case start for brain stroke patients. There is a for emergency ambulance call and hospital to hospital data exchange was performed in 5 or 10 years ago. But so I also tried to implement IHE, but EBXML is very hard for me, and IHE Japan only permit commercial use, no, company allowed to be a member of a company, not for researchers. So I couldn't try a connection of IHE Japan.
Okay. No, but the IHE profiles are going to be based on FHIR, and I don't expect to be. Yep.
Okay.
So if
good
we have,
news.
Yeah, I don't expect. Yeah, so we are going to make the whole medication flows. Let me just share with you something. What was it? Just want to share one part of this. This is HL7 version 2, so this is old stuff. But what we are going to do now is pretty much this flow. So from the prescription to an eventually pharmacy that reviews the prescription to the actual dispensing, which is the whole thing, whether it has supply chain or not, and then to the administration. But this is the flow that we are going to do, and now we are going to do this on FHIR. So that's what we are busy with, and it would be nice if this can help your efforts in Japan in any way, then it would be I think it would be a good thing. So Shinji, do you mind? I will reach out to you in the chat out FHIR to you. I'll ask some questions, and I'll ping you I'll tag you in the chat, and hopefully when we have some more insight into your requirements, or we can capture those requirements, then we also put them into the IHE backlog so that we can consider that. Actually, let me just do it right now. So
Good talk.
See, sorry, I'm going to do something here. This one, because I know by heart, because I'm working on this as well. So, oh, by the way, this is how. Oh, sorry, just maybe interesting because I'm doing this without thinking, and I was just going to do this as a minor task. But one of the things that we try to do is not only to provide the technical support for FHIR, but also the method or the collaboration mechanisms around this. So there has been quite some work that we have done, in quickly making an implementation guide, how to, some best practice on how to publish the implementation guide. All of that, we try to make it as easy as possible, and also to define a standard way of collaborating around an implementation guide. For example, this is what we have been using in quite a lot of initiatives, that if we have a GitHub repository, then we also have we use a recent feature of GitHub, which is the projects, and then we put a Kanban board. And actually, I'll just add one item here, which is add requirement consider and
Thank you.
one tablet 3 times a day.
Hey.
Expressed as let me see. Day says this dose is 3 tablets. Sorry, let me just do this. Then 100 milligram times a day. Dose is 300 milligram. Is that how you express it? To be taken 3 in 3. Is this a good description of the problem? Let me just make the text a bit better here. Sorry. Okay, let me this.
Oh. Wow.
This, the dose is 300, okay. Is this a good expression of what you were saying before?
I think so.
Okay. So, okay, I'll just put the comment there, and then when the pharmacy group picks that up, they have now one more item in their backlog, one more thing to solve in their backlog. That's it. And by the way, so this, using GitHub for tracking the issues, etc. This is also something that we have introduced recently, and it does help. It does help maintaining the sanity of the people that have to manage the changes to the implementation guide. Because implementation guide, you don't do it once, as you know. But yeah, so this really helps. Are you using Shinji? Are you using this? Are you using this or any similar method to manage your backlog for the implementation guide, or how are you doing it?
So we are using simplifier host.
Okay.
Simplifier host, and now moving to simplifier to Sushi with GitHub. We are talking to manage GitHub, but this Kanban boards are very impressive, and we love this Kanban boards. Toyota.
It was invented in Japan, so I'm actually thanking you for that. Yeah, so our purpose in Digital Square is to make these things accessible and usable by everyone. So we really enforce the need for easy to use tools that are free of charge, that there's no charges except so that are freely available. And yeah, this is so GitHub is very friendly for us in that sense, that it provides a lot of functionality. So it provides automation, it provides a lot of things. So for example, it's when there is something, so for I don't know if you are familiar with that, and Claude, I don't expect you to be familiar with that. One of the things that we did recently was also to create a publication path. There's two ways of publishing a specification. One of them is just to do something technical here, and then it shows like this. So this is another implementation guide. So it's just one implementation guide published by HL7. The ones that are published by IHE are, oops, sorry, IG/IHE. So this is just another one. It's not a good example, but for example, we have this one. So that's another implementation guide. See, it's always the same thing, really always the same thing with the header, and the look and feel is pretty much similar. But what we've done is also to facilitate the publication of this, so that when you have, like here, for example, you have this, you don't have this on the HL7, you have it on another site, and every time that you do a commit, if I make a commit now, it will build the implementation guide and it will be published. So actually the good thing about the implementation guide is that I can change something, I can submit it, and then 2 minutes later, I see the outcome of that. So it's really continuous delivery, continuous integration oriented, which makes it easy for us then to also adopt Kanban board for managing the work. Automated testing is something that we would also like to have. And yeah, so we are working on this ecosystem to make your lives as well easier. What other things do we care about? Any other things that you would want to share or to ask or to challenge?
Yeah, there was
Oh.
that other item, I forgot that. Computable clinical. Sorry, I'm trying to find the word right now. I'm actually.
Computable guideline. Well, I'm
Yes, computable. Yes, I get that exactly.
computable guideline.
Yeah. There's right now a lot of chatter about that. Yeah, I mean, I can just Google it and see what exactly what it means.
So basically, the current effort from the WHO is the following. Let me see if I find a good example, because we have lots of discussion on that. So, let me see if I find a good example of that. I don't know if the DCC is a good example of that. No, the AMC should be a good example of that. So the AMC is the antenatal care guidelines. So the WHO has published a bunch of recommendations, like text documents, PDFs, on some recommendations for taking care of women during pregnancy. So this is a PDF. So there's, if this happens, do that, or women with this condition do this. So these are the guidelines. See, so do dietary interventions, do iron and folic acid, do calcium supplement depending on the context. So these are expressed in a business language, like in a non-computable language. The effort that we are having is to transform this into computable things, so that if you have a specific patient, that you can ask the computer to say, what should I do about this patient? Or you don't have to ask anything. The computer could recommend, like, this patient, given the latest blood tests, is recommended to have this, or to have this kind of medication, or to have this kind of food supplements. So yeah, I don't know if there's any good diagram that shows this, but basically the idea is to take this from, let me see if I show another one. See, it's not this one.
So just to clarify here, we're saying that this informal guideline is turned into a FHIR resource, which can be consumed.
Yes. Yes. So we are transforming those guidelines, those high-level guidelines. Let me see if I can show this one. This, for example, this is one. Well, it's not really about guidelines, this one, but it's about vaccination certificates. But see, there's a business part, then there's the data part, and then there's the real implementation part. So what we are doing is to transform this from the business level, the information that's on the business level, to transform it all the way down to implementable artifacts. And the way to do it is, for example, to say, yeah, like in the antenatal care, if let me just actually let me go back to the antenatal care to see if I find the features that we had there. Where is it? The artifacts summary is here. Yeah, so you see there's the amount of folic acid prescribed, and there's another thing on folic acid. Yeah, for example, this one. So folic acid supplement is value set. Okay, that's not what I wanted to do. Folic reason supplement. Okay, but that's what I'll get. Yeah, no, actually, so this is, so there's an activity definition. So basically, activity definition. So just going a bit into the technical details. There is a decision engine that says if the woman is in this condition, give her a supplement of folic acid. So if that rule exists, then in FHIR this corresponds to one thing called activity definition. So this is the notion of, if any woman has this condition, then we should give her folic acid.
Yeah,
and
so it's essentially a decision table, yeah?
Excuse me, yes?
it's essentially a decision table, yeah?
Yes, and the activity definition is one of the parts of that. So one of the branches of that decision tree. And there is a thing called plan definition. I'll use plan definition. They don't have one. Okay, so they just have the activity definition. So the activity definition is the branch, and the plan definition is another FHIR resource that can capture the whole thing. So if you want to say, what is the care pathway for a pregnant woman, and if you want to put all those guidelines there, then you say, okay, this is it. And then depending on where you are, like, does this condition apply, that condition apply? Then you have, okay, if this happens, then there is an activity definition, and the activity definition can be give the person a folic acid, or let the person have an ultrasound, or make this kind of test for the blood sugars, etc., etc. So this is the FHIR way of expressing that. And the reason this works is that if you have a resource that has, this is the current, I don't know, iron levels in the blood. I don't know if you actually measure that. Yeah, if you have the lab tests, this is a proof notes. Yeah, okay. If you have this information in a FHIR way, then you can actually extract that information using CQL and say, oh, I want to see if this person is, should have immunization against, I don't know what's the name in English, whooping cough, something like this.
That does exist.
Okay, yeah, so that's one that I think all pregnant women are usually, or at least in my countries, they are usually getting vaccinated against. So if if you know that the woman has or not been vaccinated against whooping cough already, then you can take a decision from there, and that's where CQL fits in. CQL is the query that says, check if this and this is true, and if so, do this or create this other object. And that object can be, for example, triggering the request of new immunization against whooping cough. So that's where CQL fits in. CQL transforms the data along this path of care, so that you can have all of this in FHIR. And the beauty of FHIR is that everything is computable specification. So you can say, here's a system, or sorry, here's all you need to make the system work. The data definitions, the constraints on that data, the language that you need to extract that, and it's a language itself. So you just need the parser for the language, which of course many teams are already working on making that parser better and better. Yeah, and then you have a single package that you can say, okay, computer, do your thing, and then the computers do their thing, because it's just, for example, as I was showing, displaying a questionnaire. Once you decide the standard way of expressing the questionnaire to the form to the user, then you can say, okay, computer, do this for Android, and then computer, do this for the web, and then if the rules are clear and the way to process the content is clear, then just submit the content. And this now going back to our agile and continuous delivery, and through the webinars that you'll see that I emphasize a lot the fact of it's okay to iterate. So it's okay not to have everything ready at once, and to iterate, because there's great value in iterating and showing people, is this what you wanted? No, okay, then we iterate again. And it's so easy to iterate. It takes 2 minutes plus the 2 minutes of typing the text. So it takes 5 minutes that you make a small change. So for example, if I don't like this immunization not done here, let's say if I don't, I think the encounter should be mandatory, for example. I don't know, of course this is not realistic, but if there is a change there, it's so easy to make the change and say, okay, let's try again. And then the system can immediately absorb this, and we don't have to have developers spending a lot of time rebuilding and recoding everything. So the code should be receptive to this. And if you look at the questionnaire talks, so the Android SDK and the previous one, you will see that it really is like that. You give a questionnaire and, oh no, that's not what I meant, let's change the questionnaire. You change the questionnaire, and next time you run it, you see the different version of the questionnaire. So you can go to your stakeholder and say, is this how you want it? No, what about this? And that is one of the things that I'm also very much recommending is please iterate. There is nothing that will be perfect, especially because your requirements will not be perfect. No matter what everyone tells, they will never be perfect. So I shut up now for more comments. Feedback? Paul, does it put...
Yeah, actually I have a question lingering in my head, but I don't know if it's...
Go on.
No, it's more of a philosophical question, I guess. I wouldn't, at least in my culture, I see it hard, a computer giving recommendations to patients. I mean, I don't even think a patient would accept a recommendation from a computer. But I don't think it's the forum to discuss it, but yeah.
No, and actually, I'm a technologist, so I can say this with some confidence. It is, I think it's the role of these groups to have these questions, and my opinion is very clear. I'm a technologist, so I have no right to interfere, me or the systems that I design, in anything that is clinical. So the fact that the computer can say, according to the WHO, this patient could be doing something. Actually, it's not a recommendation to the patient. Normally, it's a recommendation for the physician that then decides based on recommendations for that. But yeah, those discussions are actually valuable because you see lots of assumptions, and especially once we have the requirements, we as technologists, we tend to think, okay, then now the others will stop, and now it's our job to make it happen. And I really favor a continuous interaction between the functional and the technical guys, because we have to do, we have to make assumptions and we have to take guesses. And for example, this, and we had that discussion, there was a discussion yesterday, like when we say the patient is due for a second dose of COVID immunization, what is that? Is that a recommendation? Is that a request? Well, depends on the circumstances, and all that interferes with how we are going to implement it. So there is I don't think there is such a thing as a purely technical problem that we can solve, in isolation. So we will always have to be aware of the practical impact of that. Another discussion completely different that we had yesterday as well was the quality of the system. So if we are doing this, for example, if a computer makes a recommendation based on the vaccination status, but what if the vaccination status is not known? Does the computer make a recommendation or not? If you don't say this in your requirements, then maybe one developer will say, you know what, just in case, I think it's safe to make that recommendation. So the system could issue the recommendation or a recommendation for the doctor to do something, or to check the vaccination status, or even to immunize. A developer has some legitimacy to think of these questions, but I don't think a developer has legitimacy to take any decisions on that, because that's not a technical thing. So developer has the responsibility to kick it back and say, hey, I need functional input, I need clinical input here. So I think we need to continue having those discussions. But yeah, that discussion happens a lot. What is a recommendation? Can a computer act or not? I am very much of the opinion that medical decisions are, for example, let me give one example. The decision that 300 milligrams is 3 times 100 milligrams, that is not so linear, because it can be 200 milligrams plus 50 plus 50. So it's not up to a developer to make the shortest path and see what is the right technical choice. It always needs functional impact. And as I said, I'm very much of the opinion that we cannot guess, we cannot make assumptions, or if we make assumptions, we have to validate all of those assumptions. Otherwise, we are introducing risk. We are introducing the system that only works in this way. And then if the doctor wants to say, no, I wanted to take 200 plus 50 plus 50, then we say, well, the system does not support that. What do you mean it doesn't support it? That's what we wanted. Well, it was not in the requirements, and then you know those discussions. So I think it's very important to keep those discussions and as flags, not to discuss them here, not to decide them here, but keep them always as flags.
Cool. Thanks. Thanks for the clarification.
Anything else that we should be looking at? I admit, I mean, after this short round trip with the CQL thing, of which I'm very much ignorant yet. I don't know where else we could go. Shinji, do you have any things that we should bring on as we should discuss, or?
Thank you. But so very good exposure for me. Yeah, thank you.
Let me share. Okay, then in the chat I will put the links to the just as an example reference. You'll have them in the webinars, but I'll put the links to the implementation guide. That's one. The other thing is the Galgi, where is it? So I'll send the link also to the GitHub repository in case you want to look into GitHub, and also to the Kanban board as an example of a Kanban board. And if you want to see how we set up that Kanban board, just ping me on chat.fhir.org, or you can look up for yourself. But it's a matter of 2 minutes. Just actually I can just spend 2 minutes now sharing. If that's okay, I'll just tell you how it's done. Right? Is it okay? So if you have a GitHub repository, you just go and add a project. Okay, I have to go to the right place. New project. This, and I say, okay, this is my issue. So actually, I'll go to my. Yeah, I'll just create an issues. I don't want to create one, but okay, and then I'll make it public. And then I can say I want it to be an automated Kanban. I'll share in a second what it is. And then it just creates it for you. And then what I do is to add another column, which is inbox. Just because, unlike the traditional Kanban board, the Kanban board has to do, in progress, and done. And what I like to have is, just overriding a few settings here, what I like to have is something that we haven't yet decided if we will do or not. So if someone says the color is wrong, we don't like it, I want to capture that request, but I don't want to do anything about it. So if we do this, the Kanban board, you have this, and the way that you add issues, well, we can deal with that at another time. But basically, when you add an issue to the repository, which I don't want to do now, you can actually go here and drag those issues there. So if you have the issues in GitHub, then you can drag them here, and if you add them here, the moment, for example, at the moment that you close the issue, you can automate. This is automated so that it will go automatically to the done column, and the moment that you add a new issue, you can program it to appear automatically here. But yeah, so that maybe we can have that more in-depth discussion sometime soon. But as you see, it's really easy to have a Kanban board in GitHub. You just go and create it, and that's it. So, any other things that we should discuss still today? Any curiosity, any things that you want to look into? If not, then I think we can call it. We can call it for now. We can make it 5. We can give you back 5 minutes of your time. Feel free to look at our webinars, and if you have any other ideas, any topics, put it on a Google document that sometimes we track, just in case people have any suggestions, ideas for future talks or for questions that are open. On chat.fhir.org, reach out to myself or to anyone to have for anything that you need, whether it's technical, functional, clinical, or just any other type of question. Yeah, and look for the webinars, and if you want to get more and more familiar with how to make FHIR implementation guides and how to profile FHIR, that could be a starting point for you. And I hope to see you in the next fireside chat.